the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law.
T.I. son King Harris. So allegedly, I guess he got to jail and they jumped on him in there. Say it's bad. And allegedly, I don't know how true it is, but you got people putting in the comments that somebody busted open.
King Harris's latest video footage from behind bars became viral online, and people are talking about it nonstop. Tiny's son has been acting as though he was born to live a hard life. People are now really questioning if he is truly involved or merely playing a part in this widely shared jail video. Let us examine the actual events that transpired within those bars and King's encounters with the law. King Harris is not just any unsophisticated suburban kid feigning toughness. The father of this young man is Clifford Ty Harris, the monarch of the South, as well as Tama Tiny Harris. His birth brought him renown, influence, and power that most people could only imagine. The twist is this, though. When you are anxious to demonstrate that you are truly interested in street life, sometimes all that privilege turns into a trap. Everything came to a head on October 14, 2024, when King was apprehended by Dunwee police during what ought to have been a routine traffic stop. This was not your typical famous kid getting pulled over either. It descended into total mayhem.
I stopped you because you crossed double yellow lines to turn left onto Mount Vernon. Well, I'm saying that you weren't allowed to turn left right there because it's separated by those double yellow lines.
I apologize.
I got you. Do you have your license on you? For and go ahead and step it up. Okay, Miss.
King's irrational decisions ultimately caught up with him at this point, and in the worst conceivable way. He's driving his gaudy BMW out of a Chevron, undoubtedly feeling invincible, when he cuts through double yellow lines and almost collides with a police officer. Any streetwise person knows that you should never drive carelessly in front of the blue-clad boys. But there were obviously some serious flaws in King's street education. He is pulled over for that stunt after the officer hits the lights. However, that's when things start to go from bad to shocking. The smell of loudness is coming from the whip as soon as the policeman approaches the vehicle. Afterward, he notices the strap resting on King's hip. We're talking about a loaded 9mm sitting there nonchalantly. If you're truly aware, you already see it in the streets. First rookie error: never provide the law an easy way to locate your company. This is where things take a crazy turn for the worst. Upon running King's info, the officer discovers that Pickens County has an active bench warrant. He was arrested for speeding, driving with a suspended license, and DUI in 2022, and he skipped court in that case. And months later, the body cam footage from that bust was made public online, revealing a whole different side of King Harris. The young man we see flexing online was not the tough-talking, chest-out guy. No, this young man was disoriented and frustrated, and he hardly comprehended his own legal predicament. You should pay attention to that change in energy, because this is the same King who was shouting on Instagram that he would pull up on anyone.
What's my warrant for?
So your warrant is for a failure to appear. Dispatch is going to call in and make sure it's still valid.
Failure to appear where? I didn't have no court dates.
It's for DUI out of Pickens County.
Out of Pickens County?
32. Could you go and confirm that warrant?
The only DUI, I had a suspicion of a DUI a long time ago, and it was dismissed, so I don't know what they...
When actual repercussions occur, however, he is composed, perplexed, and making an effort to comply. He had no idea which counties were waiting on him. And that isn't street smart at all. That's careless. That's just typical suburban child behavior. King vowed to have no upcoming court appearances, even asserting that his DUI conviction from 2022 had been dropped. Anyone familiar with the streets, however, is aware of the reality. Despite your forgetfulness, our system remembers. You don't just think that warrants should disappear. Officers searching his BMW discovered exactly what you would anticipate from someone in a frantic attempt to look for a job. Already tense, King blurted out that there were several guns in the ride, including an AR-15 style rifle and a few other weapons. His passengers own those. And now for the outrageous paradox. If you're actually out here managing business or moving weight, you wouldn't offer to help the police. That is the first rule of Hood. However, King is literally pleading with them not to search while leaking the contents of his vehicle. Gangster, that's not. That is unstable conduct from an affluent kid. But King's previous juvenile felony history made it much more than a simple traffic stop, and things quickly escalated from irresponsible to dangerous. He is now facing possible federal penalties for having a handgun in his hands as a convicted criminal. Here, are we discussing serious time? Don't give someone a slap.
He got arrested for a failure to appear ticket for a traffic violation, so they arrested him. But we know this is King, so we're just gonna call it. We're gonna call it that. They locked him up for.
When the arrest was made. As reality settles in, King's frustration is evidently boiling over. He repeatedly presses the police to tell him what they anticipate discovering. The more they searched his car, the sharper his tone became. That online persona of a tough guy. Real strain was causing everything to fall apart quickly, revealing a young man who was obviously unprepared for the fallout. After being taken to the DeKalb County Jail, King was extradited to Pickens County the following day. He also couldn't immediately post bond because the courts were closed on Columbus Day. At that moment, the harsh reality of being confined to a cell must have hit him hard. No wild outbursts, no Instagram Live. That wouldn't help him this time. The stain was irreversible, even though King was later granted bond and the warrant was eventually recalled. Now his rap sheet was public knowledge, and he wasn't given street stripes for charges. It was for minor traffic infractions and warrants for non-appearance. The whole incident was being clowned by real street cats. Even worse, just as he was getting ready to welcome his first kid with his girl, this all happened soon after his baby shower. Instead of acting like a grown man, King's girl Janya Epps, who would soon become the mother of his kid, watched her guy spiral while he played gangster. Father ought to. Social media also showed the King absolutely no mercy. The comments were coming in fast and furious. He wants to be a thug so badly, according to them, and Tip will let him sit in there as well. This occasion was no exception to the internet's unbeaten streak of exposing phony macho dudes. What may have been the most brutal yet true commentary on the whole debacle was released by DJ Academics. What everyone else was already thinking was essentially expressed by AK. King was so desperate to gain street cred that people were outright making fun of him and making his flimsy traffic infractions seem significant, because it revealed the ridiculousness of King's entire predicament that struck a deep chord. How could someone who was born with all the advantages and opportunities in the world be so desperate to represent a way of life that most people are trying desperately to avoid? Why King has such a strong urge and wants to be viewed as a street guy baffles me. For example, why does he find the hardships of being a street guy so fascinating? It's not like street guys. The entirety of this story demonstrated King's disconnection from the realities of street life. His arrest did more than merely make him famous. It also revealed the tight relationship between him and Tip as father and son. Out here, Ty had been tough talking, promising to cut King off financially and let him handle the fallout. However, the fact that his son was genuinely incarcerated must have set off those innate parental impulses. Nevertheless, there remained boundaries despite T's connections and power. He could not simply wave his hand away from this. King, like everyone else, had to face the music, regardless of his level of fame or wealth. In August 2025, the body cam film was eventually released, and it ignited the internet once more. A bold, street-tested young boss was not depicted in the video. A courteous but bewildered child who was totally out of his element was depicted. The picture he flaunted online was nothing like that. Here's the worst part. The 2024 arrest was just the start. As 2025 progressed, there were rumors of more severe legal repercussions. King was rumored to have received a 5-year prison sentence. Despite the fact that such stories were unsubstantiated and more rumors than truth, the harm had already been done. That arrest served as the catalyst for King's Instagram persona to abruptly crash into the harsh realities of the law. The talk of King standing on his own 2 feet was put to the test when he was facing actual criminal accusations. And the outcomes didn't seem difficult at all. His collaboration with the police and complete bewilderment regarding his personal legal issues were evident. His life was not one for which he was prepared. King Harris was drowning, obviously, in waters far above his head. That arrest, however, was just the catalyst. The ensuing storm of personal turmoil did more than simply put him to the test. It rocked his whole family. The streets aren't lively, and King was going to have to bear the consequences of that lesson. Paying the price for being honest goes completely wrong. Witnessing one of the most awkward family outbursts ever captured on camera served as a stark reminder of reality. We are referring to the notorious incident from the Atlanta Falcons game in November 2023, where the Harris family dynamic erupted during a furious stream in front of a live audience. And it wasn't just a lighthearted argument between a parent and kid. Deep generational traumas were being exposed in real time. Think about this. King went live on Instagram from a lavish suite at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, attempting to show the world, and even his own fathers, that he is not a softie. The irony was more pervasive than traffic in Atlanta, and everyone in the audience sensed it. Just pay attention to that vibe. Young King is going all out, claiming that he never had it easy, and discussing his stern stance on business while live streaming from one of the most expensive seats in the arena. The incongruity was really loud, and the streets undoubtedly heard it, but T.I. wasn't going to overlook it. King Harris is in the background. And what are we talking about? Hurry up, dude! Now don't toy with people. Come on, dude. With people. Come on, dude. Get moving, dude. You're talking about King terms. Standing on sun, King said. Yes, monarch. When things became too heated, the so-called King of the South had to check his own blood on camera and put his kid in a headlock during a live stream because he kept running his mouth. In that one instant, the world saw that family dysfunction exists in every home, regardless of wealth, fame, or luxury. Something raw about King's mental state was exposed by that altercation, the never-ending struggle of being born into hip-hop royalty. What happens when you grow up in affluence, but try to embody a culture that glorifies hardship? King has wrestled with that question his entire life. And lately, the drama has been spilling out for everyone to see. Tiny didn't hold back during the family outburst. She dropped a bombshell that sent the internet into a frenzy, bluntly revealing that King used a pacifier until the age of 12. That one confession shattered his tough guy image. Dirt like that is something the streets never forget. It became instant ammunition for critics already doubting his authenticity. But the truth is, this family tension didn't appear out of nowhere. Back in 2019, when King was 14 and begged his parents to let him focus on rap full-time, the cracks were already showing. T.I. saw the warning signs early. His advice back then was simple. Don't sugarcoat it. You haven't worked hard enough yet. T.I. watched his son chasing fame without the grind, trying to skip the work. But King didn't want to hear that. That's when the contrast between his privileged upbringing and his street dreams became obvious. Soon after, bizarre online moments started to surface, moments that drew laughter and criticism. Who could forget the January 2024 aluminum foil bowl disaster? King claimed he ran out of plates and went online to show himself eating ramen from a makeshift foil bowl. The internet didn't buy it. People immediately called out the contradiction, living in a mansion with staff and luxuries, yet pretending to struggle in the trenches. Comments were brutal. He really wants to be from the hood, but eats ramen in a mansion. The internet never loses when it comes to exposing fake misery. Then came another blow, the high school basketball game incident. King jumped on stage to perform at halftime, but instead of cheering, the students laughed and heckled him. His credibility had sunk so low that even teenagers clowned him during his own performance. But the biggest embarrassment came from his standing on business feud with comedian Drusky. King claimed he coined the phrase and even threatened Drusky for not giving him credit. It backfired completely. When Drusky clapped back on The Breakfast Club, he said what everyone already thought. King talks tough, but always retreats to comfort. Instead of letting it go, King threw weak personal jabs, calling Drusky built like a punch buggy. It made him look desperate. Not dangerous, just craving attention. Then came the viral low point. On 2 Chainz' podcast, King failed to spell the word tomorrow. As his father watched in disbelief, the clip spread instantly. Fans began questioning everything: his education, his upbringing, his identity. Piece by piece, the illusion crumbled. King Harris was trapped between 2 worlds he could never truly claim. Too rich to understand real struggle, too unproven to earn authentic respect. On the streets, there are only 2 currencies: genuineness and results. King had neither. That infamous headlock moment between father and son symbolized the hard truth. T.I. finally stopped cushioning his boy with money and patience. But it came too late. No privilege could undo the damage King's own choices caused. By the end of 2024, the signs were clear. His family strained, his career stalled, and his credibility shattered. The street doesn't reward imitation. And King was about to learn that lesson the hard way. Then came the darkest chapter. Reports surfaced of King facing serious legal trouble, chasing street credibility to the edge. Word spread that he'd been sentenced to 5 years and allegedly attacked inside a Georgia County jail. Whether true or rumor, the fact that people believed it showed how far his image had fallen. Inside, he was reportedly targeted for the same fake tough persona he flaunted online. The story claimed multiple inmates jumped him while cameras malfunctioned. If that was true, it was poetic. The ultimate test for someone who claimed to be built for the streets. T.I.'s alleged reaction revealed the depth of desperation, calling the jailhouse, begging for protection, trying to keep his son safe. The same father who preached tough love was now pleading with the system, but even as King fought for his safety behind bars, chaos brewed outside. By September 2025, talk of drama with his fiancée Janya Epps was everywhere. She was rumored to be manipulating King financially, allegedly using their unborn child to access Harris family money. According to reports, T.I. confronted her directly, saying her motives weren't about love, only leverage. At the same time, rumors swirled that Tiny was leaning toward divorce, while King allegedly retaliated against his father by leaking a supposed list of T.I.'s infidelities. Whether that list was real or not didn't matter anymore. The fact that people believed King would betray his father said everything about how toxic things had become. And as if the family drama wasn't enough, his own relationship decisions kept fanning the flames, each one pushing him further from redemption and deeper into chaos. He came out as having an open relationship with Janya earlier in 2025, saying she didn't mind his infidelity as long as it didn't cause any problems. In addition to his legal difficulties, such disclosure revealed a completely new level of instability in his most personal and private life. Even still, the hits continued to come. In September 2025, a boozy badass publicly ridiculed and stoked a vicious rumor about leaked intimate footage that purportedly showed him with another man, setting off an explosive chain of events. It didn't matter if the tape was authentic or not. Boozy took advantage of the rumors to undermine King's reputation as a tough guy. The harsh line was even dropped by him. The young boy pulled out the tapes. "Mom isn't having fun. The entire family is going wild. If you soften yourself, you can't raise any street." What Boozy said wasn't merely a joke. These were calculated attacks. It wasn't just King he was clowning. His query was, if the King of the South could produce a so-called street army, and he was aiming directly at Ty. Disrespect like that is very prevalent in hood culture. It strikes at the father's legacy and the son's credibility at the same time. Boozy stirred things up, but T.I. was already in a crisis. The legal tangle, the familial disintegration, the scandals, it was all piling up. Additionally, insiders stated that T.I.'s soul was crumbling by the middle of 2025. He was said to have descended into utter fatigue, resignedly acknowledging that, with all the wealth, power, and street smarts he possessed, he was powerless to prevent his son from committing himself. That declaration signaled a significant change from a father showing stern love to one who was admitting defeat. The Harris family story had gone beyond damage control, and this was the most obvious indication so far. Collapse was happening. The financial drama simply served to fuel the flames. The enormous $71 million that T.I. and Tiny had won in court against MGA Entertainment was cut to just $17. $9 million in. As soon as July 2025 arrived, rumors began to spread. Would King be rescued from his legal predicament by the Harris family using that payout? Or was T.I. going to finally take a firm stance and leave his son to face the storm alone? The internet was buzzing about the rumors. Even the supposedly lighter moments demonstrated the extent of the breakdown. When King offered Tootie Raw free veneers in exchange for taking part in a workout challenge in September 2025, he made news once more. The absurdity was laughed at, but it also revealed King's mentality, as he continued to use ostentatious gestures to gain influence, rather than confront the very serious issues that were destroying him. That was King Harris's best move. Though tone-deaf to the larger picture, generous on the surface, showing and flaunting affluence all the time while ignoring the lessons that are truly important. King's 2025 tale seems to be a perfect storm when viewed from a distance. Benefits, poor choices, and outcomes that even millions of people couldn't change. His transition from a sheltered celebrity child to a potential jail target is among the most striking in modern hip-hop history. However, King's saga was never about the misdeeds of a single young man. It turned into a warning about celebrity, family, and the perils of living up to someone else's expectations. You can't retreat. The fall of King Harris is not only his tale, it serves as a mirror reflecting hip-hop culture and society at large. A dark truth is revealed by his desperate quest for street reputation. In this game, people tend to appreciate authenticity and the appearance of hardship more than true accomplishment. The problem is that King had all the tools, connections, and resources necessary to win legitimately. Nevertheless, he gambled everything, seeking approval in the wrong places. The Harris family drama demonstrated that dysfunction cannot be eliminated by wealth or celebrity. They simply brought it into the spotlight. King struggled to establish his own identity away from Ty's shadow, led him down a path so rash that it almost wrecked their respective legacies. The fact that it was all preventable makes it even more devastating. King could have prospered on his own terms if he had focused on his music, properly engaged his familial bonds, and created something genuine. Instead, he was constantly humiliated, in public, forced into legal trouble, and betrayed by his family because of his fixation with demonstrating he was truly like that. King Harris learned that the streets are unforgiving in the most difficult way possible. Does he recover and change the course of events? Or does he end up as just another victim in the never-ending struggle between street credibility and privilege? Tell us what you think in the comments section below. Don't just scroll if you're doing well with this breakdown.